Okay, Emily, you and I, we always have these conversations. And so I want to complete that thought as we're getting started. Um, I think these conversations haven't taken place for a lot of reasons, but I think that when it comes to this work, when it comes to the unhealed wounds and injuries of our nation, that I don't know that most people have the bandwidth to sit with this. And that's why it's so important for me and why um, I invited you, needing the support to be witnessed, right? Having done my work, which is, it's not an event, it's ongoing. So with that, um, I just feel the energy and spirit of Esther, who's been prepared for a time such as this. And there's nothing more personal than when you experience something for yourself and you have the neural space to hold it in such a way. Um, Emily, welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks for having me. Really, this feels, I know that I've shared this before, but I'll say it for the crowd watching, whomever that is, this is a very humbling and vulnerable conversation to step into. And I'm honored to have been invited into this space. It means so much to me, Tracy.
It is my pleasure. And I'm going to take down, because it's over my face, this band. I'm going to take my display name down. I'm the resident therapist, Tracy Gantlin Monroy. I'm here in Atlanta. Um, and I want to welcome you here in this space with me and Emily today. This means a lot for me. And we got here. We got to this space. So thank you all who are witnesses and who's holding this space, because this is a first for me in this way. And I thought it important that it wasn't just for me as a Black-bodied woman with ancestry, where there are so many dead bodies that have been killed, my ancestors that came before me. And Emily, welcome to this space. And as I told you, I will not be allowing anyone up to engage with us. This is a conversation between Tracy and Emily. As a Black-bodied woman, I know that there are women just like me that have experienced injury, wounds, and there was no space for them to have a voice. And I was open and transparent with you, and I said to you, Emily, my humanness forgives you, but my ancestors are standing up. And I really didn't understand what all that meant. But I really want to thank you for allowing me to have this space that we can have the conversation, because when I talk about rupture and repair, it's about walking the talk. It's not about saying it. It's not about sweeping under the rug. It's not about, because my thing is, we experienced something together and you said, Tracy, I injured you. I wounded you. I hurt you. And I said, yes, you did. But I'm going to allow you to share as much as you would like in honoring you of what you're comfortable of how we got here.
Okay. So, just for the sake of protecting, for the sake of protecting the name of our community. I'm going to try to be vague, but to be as specific as I can about the rupture itself. And it's really interesting to me, Tracy, because, this rupture happened last Saturday. And, I've had a week of processing. So, I'm often going to probably bounce back and forth between what happened and what I was thinking at the time and what it was like for me versus that retrospective, more objective space that I have now. There's a very significant difference for me between what it was like at the time and how I see it now. But I think the simplest way for me to articulate what happened on a very unconscious level, that's just my truth. It's where I was. I think I was angry at the patriarchy myself, and injustice as a white woman with the patriarchy and that system. And that's something I've felt my entire life. And so I think for me, what happened, Tracy, was that I used the BIPOC community and your voices as a platform for my own agenda. That's not how I felt about it at the time. That's not, I felt at the time very justified and angry and hurt. And I felt that I was speaking in terms of humanity. I really believed that at the time, or at least that was my intention. And you held me accountable. You were angry at me.
I was.
It was intense for me. I know you and I are just learning each other outside of this rupture as well, but for me, it was like my energy just went straight into, I just pulled into this victimized state, and which in turn meant that I didn't stand to receive what you were communicating to me. And I'm an educated woman. I've studied, race and culture on many levels. And what happened for me, Tracy, was it was like even as I was crying, even as I was pulling in my injury, there was still that neocortical part of me that was like, these are the white woman tears that they're talking about. You're doing it right now. And yet my neocortical brain was automatic. It was responding. It was defending. This defensive system came up for me, which made it incredibly challenging to stand in what you were communicating to me in that moment. The next day I knew that I should not dare, speak and apologize or try to take accountability without embodying what you were communicating to me. And I really launched into my own process, my own, I would call it a spiritual, existential, systemic process of my own privilege. And that when I felt like I had a grasp of that is when I wrote you again to say, I am accountable. But I couldn't do it at that time. I just couldn't do it in that moment. And
Emily, if I might shrink the frame a little bit, because when we talk about anger and when we talk about Black women, oftentimes it's put out there or there's a metabite what people get from the rage or the anger of a Black woman, i.e., the angry Black woman stereotype, trope, stigma. So everything in me needs to give more specificity and shrink the frame a little bit, as we would say.
Please do.
So Emily lied on me.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Emily lying on me was there wasn't a third party that informed me that Emily lied on me. Emily told me. She lied on me.
Tracy, you are going to make me.
Emily advised in her white woman privilege and empowerment, and had the audacity to say, I felt empowered. I have my voice. And I'm like, sweet.
Yes.
That's good. And I gave Emily back what she put out there. And she said, I could see how the way you're reading it. I said, no, it's what you said.
Yeah.
It's not about how I'm reading it. It's about what you said, and it's a lie. Mm-hmm. When it comes to accountability for my heart, my brain, my mouth, all of the sentiment of Tracy, the thing with me is when I got my ass whipped as a child by my mama, it was about my mouth. I just believe that if you say it, you ought to stand doing it. Not only, Emily, did you lie on me, but you engaged me in a dialogue. I didn't know you from Adam. I didn't know you from a can of beans.
Right.
This was the first time we had ever been one-on-one in a space.
Right.
And because you are a firecracker, the minute we logged on, we connected.
Yeah, that was easy. It was easy.
That was easy.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have a voice, and you had concerns, and I could respond. So I did.
Yeah.
And we both agreed that this was a personal conversation in confidence.
Right.
Right. And then the next thing I know, it's something else. And I was enraged. I was livid. It was visceral for me. Because at the end of the day, when you say something to someone, it's never confidential. And I'm aware of that. And there's this thing I say, walk the talk. Right? And so I'm open to be accountable for that in which I say. And it has come at a great cost for me because I've said some shit. But when it comes to that in which when I'm weaponized without my awareness, without my permission, and then what was blaring for me is this white girl done lost her fucking mind. What? And then I was like, but she's cool. I like her. Instantaneously, there was no trepidation or anything.
Yeah.
And in my rage, I reached out to you.
That was the best thing that happened to us, Tracy. That was the best thing that happened to us. And I mean, I'm aware that as a white woman, I have participated in microaggressions, and I mean, how could I not, right? There's no way that so if there isn't someone to say, hey, hey, that's what that was, you need to know, then I don't think there is a space for transformation. So honestly, I credit you with us getting here, Tracy. I do. I know you're probably going to say, nope, I don't have a choice. I've already gathered that about you, but you know, you chose to bring us here and to continue to have this conversation.
I let me be clear. Seriously, when this rupture had happened with us last week, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with it. It blew my mind of your unawareness that it was even thought to have been okay. And then I'm going to tell you what happened for me as my system started to come into a place of homeostasis or balance. And Edgar Mager, Breonna Taylor, I could just call the roll. I spoke to my mom. I'm so grateful for my mama. I thank God for Vernell Gantlin. My mom has been one of the most fair people I've ever known, even when I didn't like it. I'm a daddy's girl, and everybody knows that. I called my mom. I can call my mama when I can't call nobody else. I have been angry to the point that I have literally called my mother and said, she answered the phone and I said, Mama, I'm so glad you're alive. And my mom said to me, what is that supposed to mean? And what I was saying was, I don't know of anybody else who can hold me or hold this right now but my mama. I've said that to my mother. I can go to my mama with anything, good, bad, or indifferently. I called my mama as I was coming back into my body. And my mother raised us with intentionality. I'd never seen my mom marginalize anybody. In fact, growing up, she had a friend, Miss Johnny, who was gay identifying. If Miss Johnny would have been alive today, Miss Johnny probably would identify as a transgendered woman. I remember Miss Johnny. I was a child. Not one time did my mother try to oppress how they represented. Even then, before I even understood intersectionality or knew it was a thing. So I called my mama. I'm the baby. And I said, Mama, I just met a white girl and I kind of like her and she lied on me. And I told my mom what happened. And my mama said, you know, Barbara Ann got a cousin who was killed in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Black man, but he was a black boy because the white girl lied on him. To show you how close that was to me.
Thank you.
And I thought, and because I know the historical accounts, I know my experiential account and what that looks like. And to experience it at this place, at this stage of my life, understanding the call that's on my life. So I don't get to hate. I don't get to hate you because of your humanness, even though it's a cost to me. My voice wasn't present, but there was representation of me. And I worked very hard to walk in integrity, in character. And I said to you, and you kept saying, I'm sorry, forgive me, see my heart, I wish you could see my brain. And I was like, she's not even in her body right now.
I know. And you were right about that.
You couldn't even hold it. I was like, either she's a fucking idiot, because how do you lie on me and then you come tell me? And that's where the respect came in at, Emily. And I gotta be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you lied on me, and in a particular day, a time, it could have cost me my life, and I still got people that look like me.
Yeah.
They don't get this opportunity that you and I are having through love and kindness. So when you hear people that look like me say that they're standing on the shoulders of the ancestors, when you hear us say, I am because you are, that sentiment to me means everything, because my ancestors did so much more with less. It can feel like standing on an island. God gives God's gifts without repentance, and your gifts will make room for you. But it does not mean it's not difficult. This is what I mean when you ask me certain things. There's so many bodies. Women that look like me have the highest mortality rate when it comes to babies. It's like they stand in the delivery room and they kill babies that look like me. They kill Black mamas. It's safer for a Black woman to go to a developing country to give birth than right here in America. And I am determined that it will be known that me and every other Black woman, we are America. And the thing is, Black women are known to be the least respected and the most unprotected. And so when this thing becomes personal, and I said it to you honestly, I said, Emily, it's about intention versus impact. And while your intent might have been harmless or good or whatever, the impact of what it was for me.
Yeah.
And when it comes to a rupture, the focus has to be on the impact. Because had this thing happened differently with someone that maybe didn't know me personally, didn't know the cut of zone, the heart of me, who don't know what I'm really about, that could have been devastation in my life. And you sent me several text messages, emails, and I said to you, don't apologize to me again.
You did. You said, if you say it one more time, I'm gonna... Yes, you did. You did. And I understood that. For me, it was just, there's such a big difference in embodiment versus the words of an apologist, right? To someone. And I was grateful for the opportunity to do that work. I needed it. You're right. I was unaware. And that was a huge blow to my ego, because I'm someone who wants to be aware, Tracy. I study, I am introspective. I pour my heart into my process obsessively. So that was, and I did not stand in the way that you needed me to. I couldn't. I am now.
You are. You absolutely are. And I said to you, Emily, I said, it would be one thing if I were able to accept this privately, but I couldn't. I couldn't. when I think about community, when I think about Black and white women in particular, I was acculturated by dominant cultured, well-off white people, excuse me, way before I was enculturated by my tribe of people that look like me. There was a divide for me that was socioeconomic. You know, me and my mom were talking about this the other day. In fact, I'm open to reference my mom because when I was in the midst of my healing journey and had gotten into mental health and things of that nature, me and my mom would talk. Me and my mom be on the phone like girlfriends. And I called her one day as I was in the midst of my journey, and I shared with Mama what came up for me. And it was my own trauma. And she said, yeah, Tracy, blah, 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 blah. What she said was Harold went too far that day. Because I grew up in a home with family violence. And my dad would use me to protect himself. Because my mama don't play. They used to call my mama queen in the hood. And I asked my mom's permission to just be me. And my mama know me. My siblings know me. And my mom told me, it's your story. You get to tell it. And if this is going to bring healing to people, it's yours. Of course, my big sister Gretchen didn't like that because she said, you talk too damn much. But nonetheless, and so my mother understood my call when I did it. And so for that, I'm grateful. You asked me and you mentioned ego.
Mhm.
Because with the way I responded to my wounding, to my injury, you said to me, you sent me something and I didn't respond to it.
Mhm.
It was referencing, you says, how do you know it's God and not your ego? You remember that?
Yeah, and I'm still chewing on that one, Tracy. I'm still chewing on it. And I think, how do I put this into?
However you want.
I've studied my privilege. I've had lots of conversations about my privilege. I am very fortunate. I'm fortunate. I've had in my life a lot of people that I've had to have very difficult, hard conversations with, very much like this, clinicians of color, who are also later best friends, you know. So I mean, but it's always been intellectual for me, Tracy. I wasn't aware of that. It's been an intellectualization of my privilege.
When you talk about privilege, Emily, let's use this opportunity to share.
Okay.
And because you're us both, we have an accountability and a responsibility. We're both clinicians.
Mm-hmm.
We're both active in mental health. Share a little bit about where you're coming from when you start talking about your privilege. What is that?
For me, that's a challenge. These are abstract, you know, constructs, and I think my brain is wired a little bit more practically. You know, it takes a lot for me to sort of grasp these things, but I'll try my best, and I'll stumble through it.
That's okay. I'm here with you.
I think it's a challenge to be a white woman in a patriarchal society where, you know, I am unseen, I am unheard. And I think this goes back to my family of origin. If you'll let me go back to that space, you know, my father was a racist, still is a racist. He shouldn't say was, and he was a misogynist, and he was an intellectual man, was very, cerebral, and had an objectivity about him that I think lacked subjective abilities to see the subjective experience of others. And I think what I did was I aligned with the patriarchy as a way to stay safe. I think I on an unconscious level, it's like I needed connection with my father that wasn't happening. And every child does, right? And my father was neglectful and at times abusive. And I think that one of the ways that I stayed safe was aligning to patriarchal ideas. And if I can think like a man, if I can, I sort of honed this masculine energy while my natural state was a much more maternal one, always has been, very nurturing, very open. And so when I talk about, being a white woman, and I don't know how to say this, my energy, if I can talk in energy, because it's just my language, right? My energy as a white woman is to I can have a safety and a power within myself, right? I can have that sense of security by myself. And then as soon as I step out into the world with whomever, I think I was giving that power away as a way to stay safe. And so for me, my privilege was skewed by that, skewed by those fawning responses. It was easier for me to see on an intellectual level, again, not an embodiment, but on an intellectual level, it's easier for me to see the discrimination of persons of color than it was for me as a white woman because of that fawning and that alignment. I don't, so my privilege is being able to see the separateness from that system. And also, while I may emotionally understand, or cognitively or emotionally understand what persons of color may experience, I have not allowed myself to embody the suffering of humanity. That's been ripping me apart, Tracy. It's been really challenging to open myself to that suffering and it has shattered my identity. Understanding my privilege helped me to shatter my identity in a lot of ways, and that is uncomfortable. We know it. That's, to ego death is suffering. It's painful. It's uncomfortable.
That's interesting you said that way, because from a marginalized perspective, we don't get that choice.
Yeah.
And when we start talking about ego and the pain to choose to engage it, to endure it, to embody it, that's a statement of privilege.
and I think as I'm stumbling through this, right, that was what I got from it, Tracy, from a
I
lot.
love it.
But
That's honest, because this stuff is experiential, and this becomes the issue and the problem where
right,
people show up and say, oh, I'm a co-conspirator. Oh, I'm an ally. And when marginalized populations stand up and said, are you kidding me?
right.
Like, you can't even imagine what it is to be in this experience. And I do want to give some clarification around some things. So when I speak about privilege and where Emily is coming from when it comes to privilege, I'm coming from an intersectionality frame or lens. And in intersectionality, it asserts that our social locations and our social identities, they overlap to form the fullness of who we are. A great example would be, according to intersectionality and the social constructs, because as Emily was saying, as you were talking about abstract, I found that interesting too, because as a Black-bodied woman, it's very concrete for me. Even in AI and in technology, the programming. I remember not that long ago that Apple phones had to do an adjustment because they couldn't read the melinated skin. For security, when you put your face to your phone, because it was skewed. Now, when we talk about privilege in America, the dominant cultured normative is white, Christian, and male.
Right.
Okay. And along with that, anything that does not identify as white Christian male is viewed on the sociological construct as marginalized or subordinate or oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have some privilege, but the fact of the matter is, Emily, even you being white is privilege, but according to your gender as female, there's subordination there.
Yes.
Just like me being Black, that's subordination, that's oppression in and of itself, from an intersectionality and the social locations and identities. But when you start talking about my socioeconomic as middle class, when you talk about my education, upper 10% in the nation, when you talk about my faith, which I'm more spiritual than religious, but it falls under Christianity, that is privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And so I continue to hear you speak, Emily, from this sociological construct. And I said this to you before. I
Mm-hmm.
said that, in dominant cultured households, the father or the man is the head.
Mm-hmm.
And the white woman is subjugated or a subordinate to that.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes I find from my experience with white women is you all don't have a voice, and you shared that
Yes.
growing up. And I've been quoted saying, if I got to go into war, I'm going to take white women with me because y'all are some beasts. And I think oftentimes it's out of your awareness what just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I were gonna, it's sort of like as a woman, I don't feel power. I don't have the ability to, and so it's been something that's come in layers for me, is understanding what it means to be white and to be privileged in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that is that's the challenge, Tracy. That's the challenge, to walk around feeling like, I have no choice, I have no power, where in so many ways that I do. I think that I have a choice to fawn with the patriarchy. I have a choice to try to get in there and do it another way, or to, and that's
access. You have the access. Like,
exactly.
Literally. Something as simple as a Black woman, to go into certain stores owned by certain communities, they walk around and watch me and people in my community like hawks.
Yeah.
When you go into the store to shop, do you feel the energy of extra attention being placed on you, or extra eyes thinking that you came to steal?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's real.
That's very real.
And even though you may not have the lens to see it, like perhaps from a different experiential set of eyes, sees it and experiences it, even with the strata in America, it goes white man, and immediately under white man is white woman. And then the pecking order starts from there.
Right.
Right. And so I often say, people don't think about what don't impact them. Yeah. And even with that being said, and I said to you, I said, Emily, you're courageous. I don't know a lot of women that look like you that would have the tenacity, the curiosity, and the desire to heal, that would even do this and even be accountable in this moment. And you even shared something with me, and I won't go into it because it's not my story to tell, it's your story to tell. But you could clearly see how the rupture even formulated itself, and where your projection and your transference came from, and how my little Black self, well, ain't nothing little about me. I'm 6 feet tall, big feet,
I'm 6 feet tall, Tracy. You've never met me in person, but I'm right there with you in height. We tower, right? Energetically, we tower.
We tower.
Yeah.
You said something to me, though. We've said a lot to each other.
Yeah, we have. We should have done this right after so we could be, we should have.
Well, honestly, I think the point is made. The big thing for me is sometimes inclusion has to come before diversity. And to feel witnessed and to feel held in this manner, allowing others to know that ruptures are going to happen. They're going to happen. And we can either leave it unresolved, or in our humanness, we can be present with what's needed when it comes to the impact versus the intention, because the intention is minute.
Right.
But you had asked me something, and you had a client came in and you inquired with them, and then you said it was the same response.
It was the same, but coming from different people, of course, but it was, it's difficult for me to talk about my spirituality so openly. Yeah. That's something that I've really...
You're in process. You're in process.
So in recognizing my privilege on this level, right, which was excruciating. I mean, for several days, I would just sort of at the end of every day, just like letting you know where I am in my process, Tracy, just so that she knows where I am, I know where I am, and we're going to have this conversation. And I asked Tracy, I think in like maybe the first day or second day, I forget which, how do you, if you embody God, right, then how do you, and you relinquish your will to God, then how do you, I guess my fear is that I'm going to abuse it, is that I'm going to be so confident, and it's a rational fear. I recognize that, but that's the fear. And then if I embody this power of God, then how do I manage that? That was such a terrifying existential threat to me, Tracy. And I asked you that. I think at some point in time you said I don't have a choice. And as soon as I read that text message, I was like, damn, that's my damn privilege again. That's what that is. That is my damn privilege again. And then I had a client who came, and you know, he's a white male, but his family, I don't want to say that on him.
You don't have to, but it was around spirituality.
I'll say, and he came in and he was in tears, literally in tears. And he said, you know, Emily, I've never embodied God. Oh, Tracy, I sat back in my chair. And I, oh, fuck, I don't know if I can help with this because I haven't got it. Right? Like, and he wants to use this modality that I use to really do this work. And I was so activated because I was in the middle of understanding my privilege on another level, understanding how my privilege keeps me from truly being the spiritual woman that I aspire to be, how it keeps me from my own. And I self-disclosed to this client because authenticity is all I've got. I mean, that's so important to me. And I said, I don't know if I can help with that. That's what I told him. I said, you know, to be honest, my role as your therapist is to create this grounded space for you to do that work. And I'm not in a place where I can do that right now. And he told me no. He said, no, we're going to do this work. We're going to do it. He said, you can do it. Yeah, I've been working with him for 3 years. He knows.
I love it.
And
can I say this to you?
What's that?
That's how my God rolled. You have opened yourself. See, when folks start making inquiries of me of a spiritual kind, I was like, yeah, that's a grape that's getting ready to get picked off that damn vine. You keep on playing with this spiritual stuff because God will manifest what you need in that moment, and it's undeniable. You've been singing that man 3 years. You've been singing my brother 3 years. He ain't ever come to you because you weren't ready. You weren't available.
That is real, Tracy.
Spirit, are you with me?
100%, Tracy. And he looked at me and said, your words. I mean, again, different folks, different conversations. They looked at me and said, Emily, I no longer have a choice. And Tracy, an image of Tracy rolled through my brain, my own process. I mean, my solar plexus was like rocking. I was like, oh, I'm not ready for this in any way, shape, or form. And I was like, here I am. Here's, you know, I think a gift that I have is I believe that if I'm scared, I should do it. If it's uncomfortable, that's where my growth is. If I suffer, I'm going in the right direction because my belief is that it's my job on this earth to become awakened. And I have an unconscious mind, right? That I can't possibly know all the things, right? I fucking try though, Tracy. And even with all that, I'm blind sometimes. And we need each other to.
We need each other.
We need each other.
Emily, there's something about my beautiful melinated skin and your beautiful ivory skin showing up at the same time in this space without dismissing and erasing the rupture that we experienced together. The ancestors demanded that I stand up and not keep this for myself, although there are things that I keep for myself that I get to keep for myself. But understanding that line in between, marginalized people, Black and brown people, there's not opportunities like this because it is relational. Oftentimes we take hits. Oftentimes, excuse me, especially the anger of Black women, it's minimized, if even acknowledged at all. And to be able to say openly to the world that I'm okay with good trouble, and there are those things that should move the human spirit to be indignantly angry and rageful.
Right.
The caveat I would place with that is abundant love and grace and mercy, and what that looks like, because it's so important, because I don't get to choose to throw you away because you fucked me up last weekend and I felt the way about it.
Right.
Right? Because in my humanity and in your humanness, when I say as a social justice proponent, my call is inclusion, I'm very clear about that. But even beyond myself, see, this is part of being a servant leader of the Most High God. Is it don't always feel good. Sometimes you go back and forth with the Lord like you done lost your mind. Why me? Why I gotta feel this pain? Why I gotta feel this hurt? Why I gotta go through this? And sometimes you want to go off, but you can't because humility is required. Like, I don't get to judge you despite what happened. But the beauty for me is to have this image of you and I, both America. I am America, so are you. To be able to demonstrate, not just say it, but to demonstrate that we can have challenges. We can go through things one to the other. We can be disagreeable. But we can also repair. But it's got to be an authenticity of our personhood, and it's got to be in truth. This is not the time for victimization or victimhood. It's as simple as accountability.
Right.
And you said to me, and I said, this girl crazy for real. You said, you sent me a text or a email. You were like, you called me forward, some word you used, Emily.
I don't know which one you're talking about, or I might be able to help.
Outspoken, something you direct.
Your directiveness with me. That was big, Tracy. That was big. I don't mean to interrupt you. Go, please tell me what you were saying. I have been in situations where persons of color challenged me, where they said, Emily, that's your privilege talking, and I still don't know the answer to this. There was something about the way that you handled it where I felt the rage of your ancestors. And feeling it and knowing it, those are different. I don't know if I'd be where I am in my process if it weren't for your rage and your directiveness, and you basically said, pick yourself up, listen to me, you listen to me. And I mean, Tracy, I couldn't pick myself up. I was that midbrain was like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh God, I'm being yelled at, and I came from abuse, and my whole system is freaking the fuck out over this, right? But honestly, honestly, I think that directiveness, that you would not let me not be accountable. And yeah, you were angry. Yeah, you were injured. And I mean, it was, I needed that. I needed that, Tracy.
The way you just said it, you were like, grab your ass. Come on. Let's. And listen, Emily, here's what I want you to know, and I mean every word of it.
I'm a little open, Tracy. Give it to me.
I just think you're wonderful, quite frankly. I think you're wonderful. I refer to you as sister. You are my sister. Hey, if God can call me friend despite myself, I can call you sister. You understand?
Yeah.
You are courageous. I appreciate you. God don't call those who are equipped. God equipped those God calls. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about the Lord, God will give you what you need. But the idea is through relationship and having that assurance
Mm-hmm.
that no matter what, our Father would never leave us. Our mother would never leave us. Our Father, Mother, God, whatever you want to call it, whatever it looks like, which affords for us to have the embodiment because it's undeniable. And it's a sensing and a knowing. Can't nobody tell you. We call that the infilling of the spirit. You'll know that you know that you know, and you won't need anybody's validation.
That's real.
I'm just telling you now. I'm just saying what it is. And the hope here is, and I told you, I'm looking for you in my training, intersectionality and social justice next year.
Okay.
Even if it needs to be a gift from me to you, because I need you to have that. And it's called respect. I can't have expectations on you necessarily. I can't ask you to do something if I'm not willing to demonstrate and teach. If I'm going if
That's
I'm
why
going
I'm here.
if I'm going to hold you accountable, I'm willing to walk it with you.
Okay. Thank you. I'll be there, Tracy. You don't have to twist my arm. I'm there. I mean, I can't live. For me, I can't claim to have integrity. I can't claim to be someone who seeks inclusivity and values cultural diversity without showing up to this conversation. That's just how it's not a choice for me. I think you're saying to me,
it's a call. That this privilege stuff and choice and if I want to know, you have to.
Right, exactly. That's right. That's exactly it, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. And, you know, certainly a gift is being able to receive you in this. And I'm hearing you say that you need this conversation too, and I'm here for you. But the byproduct of that for me has been just, oh, Tracy, I don't have a choice anymore.
And that's when the higher power shows up, when we hit that brick wall and we surrender. We surrender. Maybe that's all it is. This is your season. We see how you done tried everything else. Why not? But
This is true.
this becomes the ethos, the Zoe, right? This is what this is about. So, had I just became angry with you as a result of our rupture and created distance and become avoidant,
That's
I would
right.
have missed the call in this season. I was used, I was weaponized, but it wasn't even about me. So, God, I thank you for my healing and I thank you for the call. Before my healing, I didn't have the bandwidth. And this is what I'm saying to you and every other non-marginalized person by race. Please don't be stepping up on my sisters and brothers, my Black and brown people, throwing your stuff on to them. It's not their job. This is my call. I've been prepared. I feel like Esther in 2023. I have neural experientially been prepared for a time such as this. And, I have Black and brown people that reference white people as my people. And they say, Tracy, you go deal with them, your people, your white people. Okay, they God's people. Every human being is a flower in the garden of God. Every human being is a flower in the garden of humanity. And I willfully, openly accept this call on my life. Emily, is there anything else you would like to share? Because, honey, you've made my day. I think I'm going to go out and buy me something today.
There isn't anything I want to say. I just want to live it. That's it, Tracy. I'm scared.
We do it afraid, my love. And it ain't no good talking it. You got to walk the talk. So it's all about living it.
Yeah.
And can I just tell you, you're doing an amazing job at walking the talk and experientially living it. You're not just walking out of your body. And I'm so proud of you because you were totally present with me today.
I got some shaking in my legs and my solar plexus, but I was really, I'm glad you could feel that from me.
Oh, yeah. And I thank you. The ancestors thank you. And I can release it now.
Thank you, Tracy.
Oh, my pleasure. And thanks everyone for supporting us and holding this space.
Oh, it's a lot.
Meet Emily, my new girlfriend. Now we can be friends.
Deal. I can't, I hope that, I hope that you can share with me some of the response that you've gotten. I want it all. Thank you, Kim. I see your message coming through, but I want to hear the response too. You're going to have some conversations about this that I probably won't be privy to, and I'd love to hear it all. Anger, frustration. If there's something that I can learn too, please share it with me.
I absolutely will. And I'll tell you, Emily, and I told you this, like during this time that we spend together for this conversation, I didn't feel it in my spirit. And this wasn't about the commentary of others. This is an experience that you and I had together. And certainly we'll see what comes out of it. And maybe at some point we can just have a little town hall where we can have even a bigger discussion, but I would never play with your system like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, I love you too much. I love humanity too much. I respect you too much to exploit you and to open our space to God knows what kind of energy. We ain't doing that.
I
But
trust that from you. I
oh,
that
thank
from
you.
you.
Yeah, I don't play them games. I don't play them games. Look, the oppressed become the oppressor oftentimes, and hurt people, but I don't have a need for that. I received what I needed. Uh, you allowed me to share this in community for every woman who didn't have this opportunity to see it. And you're sharing this in your community about what this looks like, and it becomes an invitation that there are spaces that we all can come to that can be a benefit to us all. I want to thank you, Emily, and I want to thank everyone for being here with us. And until we meet again, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Tracy.